beautiful. The constitution is not very much bad. Nekkul lu bon. Nekkul ne dafa am na yoo xam ne définir am na loi yoo xam ne baaxut. Waaye tamit am na yoo xam ne tamit définir mu ngi fa waaye ñun ñoo war a seetaat suñu boppa parce que ñun rights yi they are there to be enforced. Foog nga enforce ko. So the freedom of speech man du ma leen nangu kenn koo xam ne da ngaa wax ne du ma mën a wax lu ma ne. Tamit even though xam nañ ne every right comes with a responsibility so corresponding responsibility waruloo suñu ne da nga am right to life soo reyee nit foog ñu téel a te teg la benn place. suñu ne da nga am right pour wax lu la nee of course soo saagee nit koo xam ne warloo ko saaga foog ko tam yóbbal si loi waaye loi bi tam dafa teg ay sarta yoo xam ne loolu la nit war a toppa sooy da nga feel dafa ko yaaxal loi police seen boppa gars yi nekkuñ above the law understand issue bi no government official in fact is above the law so every other person koo xam ne da nga feel ne nit dafa yaaxal loi you also must follow procedure soo feel ne Patrick dafa yaaxal loi foog nga am probable cause to arrest Patrick nga seet lan la jaaxa nga investigate ko warta nekk loo xam ne da nga mer rek ñëpp xam nañ ne góor gi bu police la but soo defee sa boppa public in the public office you are a public figure and if you're a public figure of course every day ñu ngi wax about Barrow about President Obama about President Trump about any other person so if you're a public figure warloo mën a wax duñu wax si yow man su ma nekkoon wéykat sax mun naa am du ma wéy góor gi bu MC rek naa wéy lu gën a mag góor gi bu so basically daal sa right la daal pour nga def loo xam ne loolu nga feel ne yaa ngi protect sa right ak keneen right am in accordance with the law te man gisuma si benn fànn boo xam ne moom daf ko yaaxa si release way pour wax ne moom àndut ak lii oo xam na li ku xam dara nga xam man moo xamal lu ma xam de waaye su waxee ne lu la xam and then amul benn loi bu mu soo dafa yaaxa loi si release that way bu ni kon nga arrest ko bi yaaga si in relation to releasing that music understand nga xam nga answer na sa question
they arrested images with six orders, but same activists, most of them are focused on KIAAL, the law. What is your reaction to that?
They have to answer that question. The movement must answer that question. I'm one thing, you're Patrick, yo, and I yo clear the yeah, in fact, I always offer to help people. As when I make court, I always offer. In fact, new for never court be one guy is most my client. For whatever reason, most my client because mama consult. I do not just jump right now represent Banky or anybody else unless you talk to me. But I can offer to help. Understand how it should be. So apparently Lola. So what they stand for and what they represent, they will be in a better position to answer that question. Yes. So your first question in relation to how they were arrested, I do not have much information as to how they were arrested in relation to the others. I know that Ali Cham, also known as Clay was arrested, I think around the market, if I'm correct. In fact, the day he was arrested, I in fact saw him being arrested and being driven away. He saw that I saw him being driven away. So apparently he was arrested around the market, that I can confirm. And then in relation to also the issue of them being detained, I've also indicated earlier that if the law as we have it in blueprint is that if you're arrested and charged in an offense in relation to a capital offense, that is it attacks life in jail or death penalty also, then section 99 of the criminal procedure code requires that you cannot be bailed. But that is a law that was being drafted in the former regime. We all have our opinion as to why it was being put there. My opinion is perhaps to just clamp down on the political opponents, perhaps to make sure that they are being suppressed. But that is the situation we have now. Some judges are in fact given bail. Even in capital offenses, we are very optimistic that the bail will be given. But the issue before the magistrate was not that. When a case starts, there is a procedure in court. The law laid down procedure to be followed in any case. The issue that we had was whether the case should be transferred to the High Court, because some of the counts there, the court doesn't have jurisdiction because the person that was sitting is a female magistrate, and I'm not talking about his gender, but it's a first-class magistrate, and then the law that we have now doesn't allow a first-class magistrate to present over those cases. That was on the basis upon which the prosecutor applied that let it be transferred to the High Court and let them be detained. But what we argued was that is very that's very illogical. That's not logical, and that is not been backed with good faith, and it's an abuse of process. I said earlier on that It's an abuse of process, one, because they themselves know, knew fully well that the court doesn't have jurisdiction. It's not like they don't know. They know fully well that what they are accusing these people for before the particular court, that court can't even hear that argument, that case. It can't even make any determination in relation to that case. So why are they bringing it? So why are they bringing it before that magistrate? So it means that their intention, as far as I am concerned, as far as I have argued, is not backed up with good faith. I opine that it has been backed in by bad faith, that they have an ulterior motive, and therefore the court should just strike out those counts and remove it from the charge sheet. So, but then the court adjourned to have this matter heard tomorrow to make a determination. So far, as far as I'm concerned, people had been going there to visit him. I do not know members of his family personally, so I cannot tell whether his family had access to visit him. I have not received reports that his family did not have access to visit him. I did actually visit him. I have known some of his peers who did actually visit him.
You mean you don't know? I just wanted to actually add a couple of things that probably people don't know, because as a civil society organization, I think everything that is going on right now, we have to look at things from the perspective of everybody has a responsibility. As a civil society organization, which is Gumsa Bopa, when Killer Ace and the rest of the youths were arrested, we did not just wake up and just start saying things. We did what we were supposed to do. We went and did an investigation. We did our fact-finding. That is how we came to know how many people were arrested. And I think that actually really helped the media houses to actually get the exact figure of how many people were arrested, which I think is part of their responsibilities to do. But we did that as a civil society organization, and we provided those informations. And we have been putting out statements to make sure we have an update on what is going on about the whole situation. So it was not only about Killer Ace. It was about the 37 youths that were arrested. And even our campaign of getting them bailed or released, we always put the Killer Ace and the 37. We always put the 36 youths there. So it's not only about Killer Ace. That being said, I'll invite Daba Malik to come and give a short statement. And of course, we are just joined by Mr. Jubate, and we'll have Mr. Jubate. Then we'll have Flex to read the Gumsa Bopa statement itself.
Assalamu alaikum. When we look back and reflect, probably 2016 December, if young people of the Gambia were told in 2019 today we'll sit down here and talk about free our young people, a lot of us probably would not have believed it. But today it's here, it's happening. And for me, I just want to speak a little bit about Ace, because I don't think people are really fair about the way he's been branded, especially on social media. And I just have to make this thing clear, because for me, I came to know Ace 10 years ago. And most of the time, he's at the Serakuna market, and that's true. And what a lot of people don't know is he has a shop at the market. And I think that is very important that we put it out there. Ace does not just go to the market because he wants to create trouble. No, that's where he makes his living apart from music. Yes, he's an artist. I do call him rap activist. He combines both rap music and activism together. And also, I think it's important that we dissect what actually happened, because these young people did not just jump one day and then just walk out on the street because they are angry or they're frustrated. You know, we know, and this is a fact, because a lot of us live in neighborhoods that are termed slums or the ghetto. And I always say this, and I'll keep saying these things. It's good. We need the police, we need anti-crime, because we have to live in peace as a nation. But so also, the police must do their job within the context of the law. And a lot of us could attest, we've seen anti-crime commit crime, you know, because it becomes worrisome when institutions that are mandated by law to protect or limit crime, they themselves go all out the way to commit crime. it's a question that we need to ask ourselves, because for me, I live in London Corner, and I've seen anti-crime comes, and they find young people even sitting at the gate of your compound, and they just come and they jump over people, start beating you up, and which I don't think any Gambian should encourage, because we all know what we have passed through for the past 22 years, and I don't think what is very clear is whether it's this government or subsequent governments that will come over, is what they need to understand is nobody is taking us back to those days. And that is very clear. Even if it means us standing up to the system, we'll continue doing it. What is important is nobody, including myself, will stand here and defend people when they go out to commit crime. Nobody is also going to support the burning down of the houses of Gorgimbu. But my question is the house of Gorgimbu more important than the life of that family man who is alleged, because I will emphasize on the word alleged, that he died out of police torture? Whether, like the lawyer said, whether it was in custody or outside custody, for me, is irrelevant. What is more important is government needs to make sure that they investigate to know whether he was tortured while in police custody or he was not tortured. Because if he was tortured in police custody and then released and then he died, so then the police have a case to answer. So, and also looking at the case of KIAAL, because when he was arrested, we went to KIAAL police station, and I think from the beginning, from the onset, you came to realize, Ace as an individual was being singled out by the police, because I was there that very morning, and there was even altercation between the young people who were there and some of the police officers, because some of the police, the perception they have about young people, especially young people that live in certain communities in Gambia, like if you live around Bundung, London Corner, Ibo Town, they tend to see you as somebody who's a troublemaker, maybe a weed pusher, a drug taker, or stuff like that. And I think that's the image that they need to release from their mindset, because we all know some of the biggest criminals live in very luxurious neighborhoods, and we know about this. And what makes me even more disappointed with the government is, not long ago we heard about the drug case at the ports. What are they doing about it? Are they coming out to talk to citizens? Are they trying to prosecute those people that are alleged to have brought in those drugs in this country? Is the case of KIAAL and the 36 youths more of a national security threat to a drug, or do they want to sit down and watch Gambia be turned into a drug zone? And because we know a lot of our young people are taking drugs, and who are bringing these drugs into this country? These are things that I think for me it's more important, because if they care so much about the future of the young people, who in one day, sooner or later, will inherit the affairs of this country, I think they should put all their efforts and energy to fight drugs. We have heard about the diplomatic passport issues. It's becoming almost a week. Nobody is coming out to tell us anything. You understand? So for me, it becomes a matter of selective justice, and I don't think, looking at what we came from, Gambians should sit down and watch just because KIAAL carries dreadlocks, because he sings songs that the police think is disrespectful. Yes, the lyrics might be hard, but if you don't want to be mentioned, I think it's better you do the right thing, because police brutality is something that is happening, and we are living witnesses to it. We saw it every day, and these are things that will encourage young people to resist, because if it, like the Wolof will say, pusante sinyak bilayam, and I don't think we should just sit down and watch police come brutalize us just because we live in neighborhoods that they think, it's a slum or whatever. So for me, I think these are issues that we need to look at. And also, I've been involved in these issues from the beginning. I've heard some people raise issues that we concentrate more on KIAAL. For me, what I'm going to say with regards to that is, it's about, when you communicate, you do branding. And one of the most known person within the group is KIAAL. So for us to send our message out there, we have to use his name and include the others. Because probably it's easier for Ace to capture the international media, and it becomes a high-profile case than when you use somebody that a lot of us even don't know, to fight about this. But what is more fundamental and important is it's not only Ace that we are fighting for, but we are fighting for the liberation. And when I say liberation, it's unconditional liberation of all these young people that they put behind bars. Because the truth is, I don't believe the police have tangible evidence to point at Ace and the rest of the young people. Yes, the house was burned, it's true, but me organizing a demonstration does not justify that I orchestrated, destruction of public or private properties. Yes, we know demonstrations when they happen, we cannot guarantee 100% that everybody who is going there with the same aim and, objectives of those who organize the demonstration. But for me, what is more fundamental is the reason why they came out to demonstrate. Was it worth it? Yes, it was it, because when a life is lost, especially a colleague, somebody that you work with every day, and is alleged to have died out of police brutality, I think it's important that the least you can do is to stand up, and seek justice for that person. And I think that's what those people who organized that demonstration that very day, to go and express themselves that they are not happy and demand that government, investigate and probably, shed light on the circumstances that led to the death of that young person. Because that guy, he's a family man like all of us. And even if he was not a family man, I think every life is precious, and we call ourselves believers. And, we know in the Quran God says, like, when you spare one life, it's like you spare a whole generation. And when you take a life, it's like you kill a whole nation. So for me, it's fundamental and it's important that we stand up for each other. And I am also a bit disappointed, and I'm going to say this. Ace did not ask me to say it, but I will say it, Gambians are very fond of, like, when Ace did that song, Kubokasi Getegi Nancy Meum, a lot of politicians use his song as a campaign tool. A lot of activists, a lot of Gambians, a lot of people who had interest in effecting change use his song as a rallying call for a lot of young Gambians. And we all knew in 2016, I'm not going to say like young people alone did it, but young people played a very great role, and they played a very big part in effecting that change in terms of numbers at the voting, at the polls, but not only that, in terms of mobilization and, giving support to a lot of these political leaders. And I don't think those political leaders today should sit back and then be prosecuting the same young people that put them in office. So now the question is, as young people, what are we going to do? Are we just going to keep following these politicians that have no interest of the young people of the Gambia? Because a lot of them are interested only in themselves and their immediate families, because that is what we have seen. And I keep saying these things for the past 54 years. What have governments or politicians done for young people of this country? We have seen, even though young people played a greater part in effecting the change, what percentage were represented in terms of governance and, the government itself with regards to young people? What we saw was, the politicians sharing positions within themselves, their immediate families and people that they thought are close to them. So should we continue to be cheerleaders for politicians, or should we stand ourselves and look at ourselves as young people and dictate our future and take it in our own hands and said, this is where we want to go to, this is where we want to take this country to. And then we make sure that if we are united, I believe we can get there. Because if you have a population that has almost 60% of the population has young people, we are a very strong force. And unless and until we recognize that and we unite and stand on one platform and put the interests of Gambia ahead of our individual interests, our ethnic interests, religion, gender, and all these stuff, politicians will keep dividing us at the same time, sending us to mile two. Because one of the biggest criminals in Gambia are civil servants. These are people that steal the little funds that we have every day. They are not prosecuted, they are not taken to court, their names are not called out. But when a police officer caught a young person with just a single joint of marijuana, you are paraded, in public, you are prosecuted, but also you are sent to jail. So do we want to continue to live in a society that protects criminals, people who steal state funds that were supposed to be used to empower the young people of this country? We have a health system that is poor, and we all know why, the reason why our health system has been going down. Because civil servants are stealing our resources. You understand? So for me, I think these are the important things that government needs to look out. Why are young people agitated? Young people are agitated because they don't have jobs. They lost hope in this country. They lost hope in the future of this country. So these are the reasons why young people will always make noise. And then when you go out there to claim for what rightfully belongs to you, you are tagged to be a criminal. And I think it becomes a very important thing that we sit down as a nation collectively and then, have a very frank and open discussions with people that we entrusted to run the affairs of this country. Because the truth is, we cannot continue to have a nation that care less about 60% of its population. Let's say, if you want to know the future of your country, look at the status of your youths. And if you look at the present condition of young people of the Gambia, you basically lose hope in this country. Because you have young people who are going through a school system that is very poor. You have young people who goes through a health system which is very poor. And yet still these politicians who probably before 2016 couldn't even afford to pay for their kids to go to private school are sending their kids abroad for studies. Starting from the president coming down. We know all these things. So us as young people, what future do we want to give ourselves? If they care so much about us, they would have invested in our education system to make sure that their kids go there. If they are interested in our future, they would have invested in the health sector. And I think these are the things for me that needs to be, that we need to sit down and talk about. And these are some of the reasons why young people will go out on the street. These are some of the reasons why young people becomes, petty thieves. People will, we talk about crime. Yes, we have to fight crime, and everybody needs to stand and support the police to fight crime. But we cannot also sit down and watch the same state institution that is supposed to protect the rights of citizens using it to abuse them. And we all know, I'm not going to beat around the bush or talk about something else. We all know, Gorgui Mbub probably might not be happy with Ace because of the song that Ace did. You understand? But that's the reality, because he hates that institution. And the same Gorgui Mbub is mentioned on the 2,000 student demonstration. What has government done about that? Nothing. You understand? And you talk about security reforms. You cannot reform institutions when you have people at the helm of these institutions who have perpetuated crime or oversaw the perpetuation of crime. And I think these are the fundamental things that government needs to work on. If they want to build self-confidence, if they want to build trust between the citizenry and our security apparatus, they need to look at the people who are at the helm of these institutions. If we have to do reforms, we don't have to do half-baked reforms. We have to do reforms in general, in totality. People who were there yesterday supervising some of these things cannot come today and preach us that they can do reforms, or you cannot just be a change man in one day. Even if you are changed, the trust and confidence between us and them would be limited. So for me, like I said, Ace is a young person who is very entrepreneurial, because I have known him for the past 10 years. He's very vocal. In as much as they try to break him down, I know they cannot break him. Ace is unbreakable, because I know his self-esteem and I know his spirit. So all these things that they are doing is just trying to break him down, and which is not going to happen, because I know the type of personality Killer Ace is. He's not a criminal. He's a very clean brother, very hardworking. He's a family man, and he also has a business that employs young people. And I think what government needs to do is to support people like Ace to create more employment than sending them to jail, because sending them to jail will not benefit anybody. Instead, it's going to cost the state money, because those people that you send to jail currently, you're going to feed them, you're going to take care of their security, you're going to take care of their health bills and all that stuff. So that is increasing the budget of government. So if this government is sound and they are wise and they are definitely ready to make a change, they should cut down on their expenses. And for me, I think those are the most fundamental things that Gambians should demand than talking about Killer Ace, dafa bari setane or dafa bari affair. That is the job that he took. Because all of us cannot be activists. I'm not an activist. Probably I cannot even spend time like Ace does to talk about issues of national concern. So I think us as a nation, we owe it to him to stand by him and support him during these trying times in his life. And like I said, like the 22 years we overcame, like this one also is a storm that will come, and we'll all live through it. But what is certain is, and that needs to be clear to government, young people of this country would not sit down and then see politicians use state institutions to suppress our voices, our rights. That is not going to happen. And nobody is taking us back to the days of what we just came through, and nobody is going on exile. I don't know anybody, for me, I will not go to exile for anybody. I was in exile for the past 22 years, but I have friends who were in exile, and I used to go to Senegal, and I know the kind of terrible conditions that they live. So that is a lesson that I don't think anybody who was in exile for the past 22 years will go back to exile, and it's not going to happen. Yes, we'll respect the law, we'll do everything possible to support this government if they are ready. As a government to work with young people collectively, we are ready because all of us want to see the prosperity of this country. But we will not sit down and watch people being prosecuted just because of their looks or areas that they came from. Thank you very much.